Hello and welcome to Hawk's Nest live stream show. My name is Brandon Kane, and I do appreciate you tuning on here Thursday. You are almost through the week, just one more day, and you're already halfway through this workday. You get there. Weekend's just around the corner. And today we're going to be talking about a first-round pick from last year. A first-round pick who you took in a draft where there were 14 straight offensive players to start out the first round of that draft, allowing for you to take the second defensive player off the board in the draft. But the guy that straight from the horse's mouth, straight from the general manager, has told you that he looked at him as the best defensive player from that draft. And I am talking about Byron Murphy. So then the 2 and 2 doesn't quite go together. We have a guy that you would seem to have gotten a steal from, and this isn't just a general manager who's got a general affinity for the guy and has fallen in love with him, but there's actually kind of a general consensus out there about this kind of player and how good he is and the potential that he does offer. Yet you look at this last year, and if you were to just take a glance and a quick snapshot, you would walk away from it saying, kind of underwhelming year. He didn't do a whole lot. Not exactly the best defensive player in the draft kind of performance. But this is the point of the show today in order to try to maybe push back against this narrative that has kind of emerged off of Byron Murphy in the first season in the way that it has. And it really comes down to one real specific thing here. We're going to be looking at in a second some alignments and stuff to kind of better show you guys what I mean by this. But there are two defensive tackles typically on the field for a Mike Macdonald defense, and most defenses at that. You have your one here and your one there right by each other. And so it's very easy to look at those two guys and say, well, they do the same thing. They've got the same responsibilities. They've got the same possibility of getting to the quarterback. One is not given a better advantage versus the other. They both come off the blocks, get their chance, and they either win or they don't. But that's not the way football really does work. And it hasn't worked that way for a very long period of time in this sport. You have what is atypically a 3-tech, and then you have what is atypically a 1-tech. Now, these are alignments. You can have slight movements of those alignments off of it, but the alignment is very important because the 3-tech is on the weak side of the formation. He is going to be aligned outside the shoulder of typically the left guard, but the formations can flip on that. Outside the outside shoulder of the guard is essentially the way to think of it. And then your nose tackle gets stuck right between usually the right guard and the center, right between their shoulders. And so he's put into a position very often post-snap where now he is going to have to take on those double teams snap after snap after snap. And this is a very, very difficult thing for any defensive tackle. Say nothing of a defensive tackle that weighs probably 293 pounds come game day. This is atypically a position you want to, or not atypically, but this is typically, a position that you want to go find a guy that's like 330 pounds, 340 pounds, like a Kenneth Grant that was taken in the first round of this last draft, who's a pure 1-tech nose tackle, because those guys can take on all that added beef coming at him up front, and they've got the ability to root down and hold in there. With Byron Murphy, he did a decent enough job of it last year, but he's being played out of position. He is a pure 3-tech body. That is the way you want him used. And when you put him over here, he can do this. He did some of it in college. We asked him to do more of it than Texas asked him to do it. I mean, they only did it, a little smattering. We had him live in the 1-tech role. That's where he had to operate from 24/7 almost, just about. There were some snaps at 3-tech, but by and large, he had to operate out of that 1-tech role. And any defensive tackle who's got to play that position over and over and over again is not going to put up great stats. They're not going to put up great pressure numbers. They're not going to get a lot of sacks. They're not going to get a lot of tackles. They're taking up blockers. It's maybe the biggest hard hat, dirty work there is to be done on an entire defense. So looking at that guy and trying to just take the statistical barrens out of him and go, well, he just one sack and didn't do a whole lot. That's really not the right way to look at the situation with this position, because it's a very important position in this defense. In fact, it's one of the most important positions in the defense, but it's also not getting the most out of Byron Murphy for what he brings to the table, because he's got real star potential as a 3-tech. He does not have star potential as a nose tackle. So the question might be posed, why did they do it, Brandon? Why did they keep him there at this position all year if he's better at this other position? And the answer to that is two different separate reasons. Number one, you didn't have any real good quantifiable nose tackles. You got nothing out of Cameron Young, a guy you took in the 4th round who was injured all year, and then Hankins, who they brought back again this year now, is very old and can only run so many snaps and didn't play necessarily particularly great when he was out there. He was all right, but again, you can only run so many snaps with a guy that age, so somebody's got to go fill in the hole there at that point. Byron Murphy was selected to be that guy. The other side of this was that Leonard Williams, of course, was having almost a de facto Defensive Player of the Year type season from the 3-tech position, and so you weren't going to bump him off or have him go into a different place, and even Jaron Reed behind him. Reed was a top, 17, 18 defensive tackle and has rated in the sport. And again, who does primarily most of his work from the 3-tech position with a little bit of smattering of nose tackle snaps built on in there. And so those were the two main reasons that sort of drove you to have to put him there. But then that doesn't mean, again, that that's what's best for him in the future. And it doesn't mean that he's limited now in the upside, that he has sort of been exposed as a guy that we overdrafted. Not at all. But we're going to get into that today. We're going to go end to end on that one with it. First off, when we look at his PFF ranks here, you can see that 57.8 grade, 53.6 run defense, 64 as a pass rusher, looked at it a little bit more as a pass rusher. The run defense grade to me is a little bit of emblematic of the fact that he's put in that 1-tech role and he's hanging on for dear life and he's doing what he can in there and he's being a good soldier and there are plays that he impacts from that position, but it's not his position. I comped him out to a John Randall when he came out of the draft, and there is no way, shape, or form you would have ever have put John Randall back in the day at the nose tackle position. That would have been a fool's errand all day long. And Byron's doing his best out there, but it's very hard when you're asking him to kind of play that sort of position like that. As far as his full rank goes here, you can see he had 1 sack, 20 hurries on the season. He played 457 total snaps, so he was kind of flipped in and out a little bit on there. He wasn't out there just 24/7. A guy like Leonard Williams will have significant more snaps. Some of this is also pressed, though, because he, of course, suffered an injury and had the injury that kept him out for a couple of weeks, which also kind of depressed a little bit of his production on that side of it. Pretty low missed tackle rate, not too bad there. The alignment you can see here on AGP is nose tackle snaps. So those are actually not 1-tech. Those are where you're aligned over the center as a nose tackle. So 66 snaps, almost 1/3, 1/4 of his snaps, I guess you can say, 1/5 of his snaps are in that position as a nose tackle just over the top. So you have 1-tech, which is between the guard and the center, and then you have nose tackle, which is right up over the center. Both of those two positions tend to lead to you getting double teamed a high amount of the time. He's lined only on 2 snaps on the outside, and then you've got some snaps aligned here in some other spots with, kind of in between the 3-tech and the 1-tech kind of roll in there a little bit. So not a lot of glowing stats coming out of him, 21 total tackles there. You can see that he wasn't super highly graded. As I showed you here, he's the 64th highest graded defensive tackle in the sport this past year. But it does come down to a little bit, again, of being the alignment and the positioning. And I want to show you guys first, before we get into kind of looking at some of his tape and getting into that, I wanted to first I always like to show this every once in a while to just as a kind of a reminder on what I'm meaning, because not everybody understands, what I'm saying about alignment, right? So this is a nice little graph that kind of shows you alignment. And what you will have is you've got your 3-tech, which you can see, you can have that on the right guard, you can have that on the left guard, but it's outside the shoulder of the guard. You've got 2-tech, which is going to be heads up over the top of the guard. This is a position that you might see with a 3-4 defense, and the 3-4 defensive end might be in that position, especially if you're running a bare front. So that's 2-tech is heads up. 3-tech gives you the advantageous position to be able to rush the passer because you're on the outside shoulder. So you're far away from the center help, right? Center can't get out there to you because you're on that outside shoulder, especially if you get upfield. So it's a position that the alignment allows for that 3-tech to have an opportunity to really go out there and hunt and have some freedom in his pass rush to get to the quarterback, to get penetration, to get tackles for losses. When you get to a 2-tech roll, or when you get to a 1-tech roll, now I'm heads up over the top of the guy. Now I'm this much closer to that center who can come and double team me. And when the 1-tech, as you can see here, specifically the 1, you're right between those 2 shoulders of those guys. You're in a prime position for you to be able to have to take on those 2 double teams and not be allowed to hunt. So when I talk about 3-tech, 2-tech, 0-tech, which is right over the top of the center, that's what I mean in these positions. And they can be on either side of the formation. You look at the 9 on the outside of the formation, I'll also be referencing a little bit of the wide 9 is what they call it. Why is it called a wide 9? Because you can see that that's essentially the widest point that they've got as far as delineated, as far as, these numbers go. You can call a wide 10 and wide 11 if you want, theoretically, but they don't really have that as a number for that. So Seahawks defense will typically rock a 3 tech, and then they'll have the 1 tech, and then you've got usually 2 wide 9s, or you'll have 1 wide 9, and you'll have a guy being, maybe on the strong side running 6 tech, on the power, the strong side of the formation, because you're a little more worried about the run game. The guys on the weak side of the formation, they're the ones who get to go hunt. The 3 tech gets to go hunt, gets single blocks. The guy next to him, atypically a lot of times, is going to be the blindside pass rusher as well. He also gets the opportunity, of course, to be able to, the quarterback can't see him coming. He gets usually the little bit of the wider alignment to that weak side. Typically, it's the way it goes, but there's different defenses that do it different ways. But do keep in mind this chart today when I'm talking about 1 tech, and really that 1 is the one you want to pay attention to, or the 0, because that's where you're going to see today Murphy most of the time lined up. Now, just before I get into this on kind of going on this rant a little bit about him at the nose tackle position, and that there is sometimes some pushback from people that are saying, oh, he does it great. He's awesome at it. He's so good at it. He can do this well. He can do either great. He can do 3 tech. He can do 1 tech. He's marvelous at both of them. He doesn't mind doing either one. And while Byron Murphy has definitely been the good soldier in saying that, he says, look, if I'm taking on 2 blocks, somebody else is going to go eat. If I'm not getting 2 blocks, then I'm doing something wrong. So he's saying all the right things. But I think that even like with this response from his girlfriend on IG probably touches on the heart of maybe some of his own frustration from last year that he's not going to air out publicly. She's responding to a post, of course, on Instagram here talking about his 0.5 sack, 1 sack season that he had last year. And she says to him, he played nose tackle, which is a position where you will not get a lot of sack production. The great things he does won't always show up on the stat sheets. He frees up a lot for other players to get plays. He was one of the most double-teamed tackles in the league as a rookie, just pointing that out. So please learn about the game first before talking, because best believe he will be in the Hall of Fame when it's all said and done. Now we're done. Oh, and hey, guess what else? Turn on the tape. So Byron Murphy, shout out to you. You are a ball knower, and I love it because she does just what I always like to see from folks on this when they press back on people is she didn't have to get personal. She didn't have to go at him. She didn't have to do something nasty or get out of pocket. She just went right at him with the facts. And I'd reckon to guess that there was no probably response, because that's how it typically goes with these troll type folks in these situations. But you can see with her mentioning of that this is probably a conversation that's occurred over the dinner table a little bit here and there. And so this is not just me kind of inventing something out of the nothingness here. This is something that's a part of the impact here on Murphy on this rookie year that kind of everybody, I think, can kind of acknowledge. But without further ado, let's get on into the tape here. I like to do what I like to do here, which is get into the tape, show you guys what I'm kind of talking about, try to give you guys a bit of a better idea. So that I can back up what I say, because like she says, you got to turn on the tape. You know what I mean? Can't get this done unless you turn on the tape. So let's first show this here from the 1 tech perspective of things, and kind of give you an idea here of how he looks in these kind of situations out of 1 tech, because he's not completely over his skis. He certainly is an effective player in these situations, but he's definitely being limited just a little bit with it. So here we go. We got the 1 tech there. You can see him shaded right between the shoulders of the left guard and the center. Then over on the other side, you can see that, sorry about that. You can see over there on the right side, you've got Jaron Reed playing the 3 tech. This is one place I'd like to kind of push back for some folks on this who are going, well, Reed played nose tackle last year. It's like, well, no, he didn't. He played more 3 tech than he played nose tackle. He played a very little bit of nose tackle, but it was a very little bit. He was basically your backup for Leonard Williams most of the year on that. Most of the time into this role, there's not a lot he's going to be able to do. So when he comes off the ball here, he's got 2 guys right in front of him from the jump, right? Those guys, the guy's not 66 isn't scraping down the center. He's staying right there. So if Murphy tries to pull this hard left, he's running right into the guard. He's got 73 also kind of there, fights his butt off, gets in on the play and actually makes the play with a great hustle stop, gets in there to help bring the guy down. But he's always got to go through 2 guys to get something done. And these a little bit out of order here. A lot of the snaps you'll get are going to be like this. Why is the run defense grade a little bit down lower this year for him? Well, because he's got to deal with stuff like this. There's good snaps you get from him from the one tech, and then there's snaps like this where he's just going to get sent on a ride. So he starts out, you can see here, look where he starts. See where he finishes 3 yards back. No one's really going to be able to dominate double teams, but can you hold up relatively well? And he held up relatively well last year. But there are a lot of snaps like this where he's just getting pushed back. There's nothing he can do. He's 290 pounds. There's 290 pounds. There's only so much he can do in those kind of situations. Here we got with the Rams. Again, you can see here, you've got him lined up, one tech, between guard and center. Leonard Williams over here, 3 tech, outside the shoulder of the guard. This is the thing you want to look for when you watch these games to kind of determine alignment a little bit here. But same thing, a little he can do here. All that beef the Rams invested in their offensive line. Double team comes down. Nothing he can really do here. That's right over his side. Just not built to do this nose tackle stuff. He can do it a little bit. You can pepper it in. Pepper it in a little bit, you know? But you don't want him running at 24/7 on that. Some good snaps in here too. What's impressive is there's times he beats the double team. Again, 3 tech. You want to be driven crazy on this play. You want to really have your mind blown on this play. You've got Hankins here, who's supposed to be your nose tackle, lined up as a 3 tech, and then you have Murphy lined up as your nose tackle. Make that make sense to me. Still, he shoots the gap hard on this play, so he removes himself from 68. You can see 68 gets that one hand out there and goes, "Oh, nope, you're shooting the gap around the A gap here. I'm not going to get Andy. I'm just going to get to the second level." But you can see in doing this, Murphy's been able to split the center on that. Great play. Nice little swim move there to get free, too, of the center. That's Drew Dahlman. He's doing that, too. That's a Pro Bowl center right there. He's kicking his ass. So he did find some success on some of this stuff. A little bit by bit. It was oftentimes you'd have to be a little inventive when he did want to get through these double teams. So again here, 3 tech lined out. I think that's Jaron there. You got Leonard Williams out at the edge. That's where I really think that the opening on this to utilize him a little bit better is to get Murphy into the 3 tech and then just use a little bit more of Murphy on the edge, or Leonard Williams on the edge. He's effective with that. Here, like you saw with the Atlanta cut a second ago, he's looking to shoot down the gap here. So he's going to shoot down the gap from the 1 tech, and by shooting down the gap, he's going to take the double team away from himself. He's going to remove their ability to be able to double him here. So you're looking at 91 there. Watch how he just kind of shoots down. See 77 can't get his hands on him. This is actually kind of a 2 tech more than a 1 tech. See, he's straight up, shoulder to shoulder on the guard. That's more of 2 tech than it is 1. But as he's going here, 77 can't get to him because he's getting lateral here. He's reading the run play right. Instincts are really good on Murphy, by the way, where he read the play going. So he's going in the right direction here the whole way. Messes this whole play up. 77 can't get his hands. He's just, look at 77 trying to just get something on Murphy there. That frees your linebackers to get back in and make the play. Of course, Ernest Jones gets off the block, which really does make this happen. But Byron Murphy helps to reroute the ball carrier. Creative, inventive ways to go make a play when you really don't have much of an opportunity there to do much when it comes to that. Another double team defeat here. So you're going to look at Murphy right here. Again, that's the 1 tech look. Split right between your guard and your center. Splits it, goes down to his knees, goes and makes the tackle. A lot of good hustle and effort on this. But takes on that initial, boom, takes the double team block because the guy scrapes down to the second level, does the center, I think it's Limmer, but he's able to weather that impact. That's the impressive part about him is he wins the leverage war on both these two guys, and that allows him at 290 pounds to occasionally be able to just hold tight and make the play. Very hard to do this when you're being double teamed. I just can't undersell that. Can't undersell that enough. Packer game here. Again, lined up as a one tech. Oh, sorry. Try that again. So you're going to see our guy here right there. Actually lined up a little bit more as a three tech here, right? So you got, he's the three tech. And then you got Hankins, I think, on this one as your nose tackle on this play. It's a little bit of a different alignment here from him. Still takes on the double teams. Goes and somewhat finds the ball carrier. Kind of brutal at times where even I'm going to show you some snaps where he's at three tech and he's still getting double teamed. It's just the tackle coming and helping out than it is the guard in the center. But again, the hustle and the instincts to get to the right play at the right time. He's reading this all the way as where this is going. And does make an impact in on the play. Not saying he makes the tackle, but he's in there. Another Packer one here, pass rush wise. Creates a little bit of pressure. 20 pressures on the year. Doing it from the nose tackle position, just gets up the field tremendously fast. You can feel his quickness here off the ball, first step quickness. Very explosive. He's got the guard hugging him here, 74. Look at that. I'll just hug you. That's one way to stop you. Hug you up while you're being blocked to the front. We come at you from the front to the back out here in Green Bay. That's just how we roll. Turn our guy into finger cuffs there on that play. But able to get his hand up, create some pressure. Unfortunately, touchdown reception given up by Tariq Woolen. What are you going to do? Tariq had an up and down year. A little up and down. So again, nose tackle, right side. Here he is. Leonard Williams is your three tech. This is just a play to show, again, there's little you can do when you're being doubled like this. You're just running up against a wall. So, he gets the tackle pulls, and I guess actually, no, sorry, I got that wrong. He's in the one tech. Leonard's more in kind of a two tech-ish role. So you're kind of tightening your splits here a little bit, probably anticipating a run. But you can see even though he doesn't get the tackle blocking him, he still ends up having to deal with the right guard there. And there's nowhere to go. Plays run away from him. He wasn't going to go make this play. But just dealing with so many double teams. Viking game here. Another one where you'll get the idea, I think, pretty much on this. Again, rocking into the one tech here, split between the center and the right guard. Double team hits him, holes opened up. Double team hits him, holes opened up. These are plays to me where it's just, there's not a lot he's going to be able to do about that. He just doesn't have what you look. There's a reason you want the guys 330 pounds, 335 pounds. There's a reason you're looking for big dudes that are long, not 6 foot tall, stubbies. You can find a Brandon Mabane that can kind of do it here and there, but overall, you're really looking for a little bit of the bigger, beefier guys to run this role. Again here, I'm not going to belabor this point too long on this one, but again, just doubled up right there, blasted out of the hole. So can he do this stuff? Yeah, he can do it. Is it the best way to utilize him? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. And I just want to kind of hammer these home because there was a lot of people that were like, no, he was great as a one tech last year. No, he was marvelous. He was on it. He was dominant as a one tech. Dominant as a nose tackle. Here again, Cardinals. Take him for a ride. Boom. Going backwards. Want to reiterate, some people like to tell me, well, no nose tackle when he's getting double teamed is going to remain in play. I get that. You're right. Those that'll say that. I'm not pushing back on that. What I would just say is that there's a difference between giving up a little bit of ground and getting blown out of the hole. And his guys come here and help out, and he gets his, the troops rally. They do. But is that a success for him as a nose tackle there on that snap, or is that more of a kind of a fail? Probably more of a kind of fail. I showed this one, I think. Oh, no, we don't. Nice little hustle play here. I think I showed that one. My bad. So it's not all bad, though, with him. I just wanted to show some of that with you guys here, a couple of these snaps, so you could just kind of see that, okay, here's him at 1 tech. Let me show you some of the snaps at the 3 tech. Here again, 1 tech roll between the center, between the guard. Bye. This one's really not his fault, too, as it's the tackle comes down and helps out him on this one, too. But, I mean, that hit here, boom. 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 Okay. There's movement when the 2 hit. Here he's in kind of a 2 tech roll. No, we got him right. I got the wrong place. Let me see something. Okay. Actually, it's kind of more in the 3-4 edge. So here you got him off the edge here. Still dealing with the double team there. Initially loses some ground. Now I got to show you more of these. Enough of the bad snaps on these. I think I've made my point. Double teams are not the best way to use him. And drive home some of the fact that double teams are not the best of ways to utilize him. Of course, last year he was injured while being double teamed. So had his hamstring blown out, missed 3 games because he was doubled. Now, the great irony of him getting injured on a double team is that he was getting doubled from the 3 tech position. He's basically 3 tech. Maybe you want to call it 2 tech here and split hairs. But this is the play that he got injured on. Gets his leg split there. Ow. See him kind of gimping on it there after the play a little bit. All the more reason to me because he wants to do this dead leg move that he likes to do where he long arms one guy and then he tries to kind of split his legs open to better root down. And it works, but it's also one to where your other leg can have that tendency to get split apart when you try to do that move. Ask him to do less of this as a double team guy. He's not put in this position as often to me. But there's a couple snaps in there that are kind of crazy with him this last year. We're very close to this kind of situation happening once again when he got doubled up in that way. Let's show some good stuff though here. Let me show you some of the things that he can do when you light him up and you let him go free and you let him run wild. Here again, you got him now into more of a, he's kind of a sort of more of the 2 tech-ish. It's a slightly inside the shoulder there of the right guard. So somewhere between 1 and 2 tech there. Gets single blocked. Gets actually doubled. Causes a penalty. So 1, get off him, then watch the penalty flag come in. Yep, that's on him. So 2 blockers, not enough in pass protection, and he still is able to cause the penalty. Bears game, a little pressure here. Got Murphy, 1 tech position again here. There were times he was able to create some pressure in these kind of moments. Keep an eye on the quarterback, force the throw out of bounds. See here, it kind of works off the center. He can kind of feel the center there. So he, along with the quarterback moving that way, it also gets him out of the double team there. But can you just feel how natural the double team slides to that 1 tech? I mean, look at how the center's not going to Leonard Williams here. Leonard's on the outside shoulder. So the center's going to Byron Murphy with those first few steps. He's keeping an eye on Ernest Jones if he's blitzing. But he doesn't go to Leonard here. He goes to Murphy. Why? It's easier to be able to hit that block. Easier to hit the guy that's split up like that than it is to get out there and get to Murphy with our Leonard Williams. And with Leonard, you essentially have them blocking him with the tackle and a guard there. Kind of doubling both of them up at the point of attack. Was able to get 1 sack last year. He also had 1 sack that was ripped off the board, unfortunately, because of a very slight face mask. It was almost a nothing, just barely. But here's his 1 sack on the year, rocking again from the 1 tech position, gets single blocked, and he abuses him. So give him those few times when he actually does get the single block, he goes and makes something happen. First nice push, quick spin, quick swim move there at the end, get the arm over, get clear. You can feel some of that explosiveness he brings to the bear here. And boy, just you daydream about this guy when you think about him getting some single blocks, thinking about him actually being able to have a chance to really go hunt. The other sack he had was in the Viking game. This was the face mask. Again, you guys will see, and hopefully this gets this home. Back in the 1 tech role. He was not a 3 tech last year. He's got to be in that spot every single time. But gets 2 blocks on him, defeats the 2 blocks, goes and makes the sack. 1, 2, run a little stunt loop, still whoops their butt. Great play here. Get off that, get the second contact, still go get the man. And his hands, you can see, just barely grazes. I mean, almost kind of blew on his face mask, really. Just barely. Very kind of ticky-tack. Nice play from our guy there. There's also a couple of moments here where he was in around on helping out with some interceptions that were caused. A couple points. I mean, I'll let you guys kind of determine whether or not on some of these snaps you think he was able to do that or not here. But he was in on the 2 interceptions in this Falcon game. He was in and around things, in on the mix. Here from the 1 tech position, split between the center and their guard. Throws the guy aside, overthrow. Kobe Bryant picks it off. Again, you see how he started to get smarter as the year went along, where he realized these double teams were coming. And so he would at times, I'm just going to run away from this guard here to the side of me here and get him out of lens. And when he goes to the left here, he kind of gets the guard to look away from him there. And that gives him just enough space to where he can throw the guy around to get around him then. It's kind of a smart play to get away from the 4 hands, the 2 sets of hands on him, and just keep it to 1 set of hands. But you can see it's his hands in the face of Cousins here. I mean, he's right bearing down on Cousins, forcing this throw just a little bit hurried. Leonard Williams does a good job coming around the backside too on the play, but he was there as well. Second one here in Atlanta. Right there again, we got our guy in his normal position where you've seen him living life. Living life. Gonna run a little bit of a kind of a loop over there with Leonard. A bit of a loop around Leonard. Again, right in the face of Kirk Cousins, and the ball's picked off. Right in the face of Kirk Cousins. And Kirk throws this ball. See where he's at there? Hand up in the face, right there in him, right there. So forcing this throw. Ball tipped up, a little bit of an errant pass. There's Julian Love. A couple moments here, you got the impact from him. And impact is why you always got to go and turn on the tape. Statistics will tell you a story. They certainly are going to inform you about a player. But at the end of the day, you got to turn on the tape and run the tape to get the really best idea about what the player brought, how his impact is really, truly felt on the football field. All right, we got if I can find this one. I had another one in here and I can't find it. Well, he had one against the Rams, too, that was almost one with Ernest Jones, and I unfortunately can't seem to locate that one here for whatever reason. Some good snaps here in the nose tackle position. Just want to show these in addition here to where he does hold up, goal line stand. You're looking for 91 here. Get him single blocked up. He can dominate that block. We can get him into more positions where he can get these kind of blocks. You can feel sometimes these guards just don't have any chance because he can both hit you with the quickness and the power. So first quickness to get into the guy, then the power to throw him off. Helps to keep this from getting into the end zone. Not all bad there with him in the one tech. Where the story isn't all good or all bad. It's complicated. Single blocked here. What does he do when he gets single blocked? He's going to dominate his matchup. Not only dominate his matchup, but find the ball carrier and make the play. I mean, just effortlessly throws his guy aside here. Boom, finds the ball carrier. Part of teams dedicating the double teams was also a reflection of the teams recognizing, even with a guy like Leonard Williams out there, that this guy's a problem and we cannot single block him, even though he's a light nose tackle. We can't get away with single blocking him because you're going to get plays like this, where he's just going to instant defeat his blocker and go find the man. Another one here. Here he's in, this is called the zero tech, right? 1 tech, 2 tech, 3 tech, 0 tech over the top of the center. Right over the top of the center here. He's going to go find the ball carrier, go make the play. Defeats the double team, hustles out there, go meets it. Defeat the double team, right? Watch that double team defeat here. Both those two guys end up falling off their feet. You've done a pretty good job against the block if you can cause that to happen. And then go make the play. Just love his hustle, effort, power, quickness, all of the stuff that we saw with him back in the day, with what he brought to the table there, is certainly been back out in the first year with him. It's not something that we just was completely lost. We just didn't see it. No, you did. You did. Got some tackle for losses as well on the year. Single block here again. Guy tries to cut him. That's a bold choice. You want to try to cut the bigger guys that can't move, but guy that can move, you don't want to try to cut. He's going to defeat that instantly. Just what he does here. Finds the ball carrier, wraps him up, takes him down. Let's get this guy some more single blocks. Let's find a way to make this happen. Because like his girlfriend said, he can be dominant if you do that. I truly believe it. Rams TFL here. Lined up as a 1 tech. Leonard Williams, your 3 tech. 2 wide 9s on the play. Double team hits him. Keeps moving to the ball carrier. Double team hits right here. You look pretty defeated there, right? Ball's going, the play's coming right at you. Finds a way, though. The guy tries to get to the second level in Dotson, and that's all he needs is a crack. Controlling the rep the whole way. Look at him, he's controlling this rep the whole way. I'm going to move you where I want to move you. We're going where I want to go. And then I'm going to go make the play. Great job. I not have felt as much of the pass rush, but I'm going to tell you this. You felt his run defense. You felt what he could bring from that perspective of things, even in this nose tackle role. Couple jet snaps back to back here. Nose tackle again. 2 wide 9s, 3 tech. This is what you roll. Gets single blocked. Finds the ball carrier. And those run instincts I talked about again, notice how he's always going to the right direction where the run play is going. There's no fooling him. There's no he taking bad snaps in the wrong direction. He's always moving in the right direction of where the run play is headed. And again, the single block has no chance on this play. Do you see any movement? Do you see him going backwards at all there? No. In fact, he's getting pushed even slightly into the backfield. Here we go again. Split between those two guys. Going to go make the play. Set up to be double teamed again prior to the snap here. Bounces off like a bumper car there, the 2 blocks. First gets 76, then boom, there's the other one, then go make the play. Degree of difficulty when you got to defeat not 1 block, but 2 blocks to get to the ball carrier, and you still do is very impressive. Oh, no, yes. There you go. Good all-around player in Murphy. As much as the John Randall comp, I think, is true to him, he's actually going to be a better run defender than John Randall ever was. Randall might have him beat as a pass rusher. We'll come to see on that. but he definitely is going to be a hell of a run defender with these instincts and the ability to play with this kind of play strength at his size. Again, lined up as a one tech, gets lateral, finds the ball carrier instantaneously. I mean, tell me he doesn't know where this play is going the whole way. There's no slight. I got to post snap, kind of recognize what's happening. I mean, he's moving with purpose and force to the spot. Doesn't let the first guy get his hands on him here. See how he kind of avoids, doesn't let himself get held up by the guard, the left guard there. Who's going to try to, 76 there is going to try to get a hand on him, and he kind of turns sideways there to avoid it. And I just got to, I'm already beat this guy to the spot. I'm too quick for you. And there's nothing the center can do. Look at him stick his hands up. And he's trying to stick his hands up so he doesn't get a holding penalty here because he knows he's just too late to the block. And 76 doesn't do a good enough job of, 76 is supposed to hold him up here a little bit to then give the center a chance to then get in front of him. But he's too quick to the spot with it and forces the action too much here. Go make the play. Go make the play. Did we have some 3-tech snaps from him last year? We had some. I will say that it was not a tremendous amount. There's a couple intermingled in there here and there. It wasn't that he didn't get some 3-tech snaps. There were some. Here you've got something that this is what I would love to see from next year a lot of, which is 3-4 look. Outside linebackers here, you got one stand up. The other 4 guys are with their hands down in the dirt. You got Jaron Reed back in his nose tackle home, which I'm hoping he's going to take more snaps from the nose tackle to free Byron to be able to do more stuff out here like this. So Byron actually gets a 3-tech snap here. What does he do with it? Almost runs untouched into the backfield is what he does with it. Just like that last rep I showed, you get an offensive line hugging him on the back. You know you've defeated a block pretty well when you got the lineman doing that. Quick to the spot, in on the tackle. Not a lot of 3-tech reps, but when you gave them to him, why do I want him in this role? Because where's the double team going to get him here? No double teams. Look at Jaron Reed here. Who gets the double team? Jaron does. Give him those single blocks, I'm telling you. Got another one here with a 3-tech. So that's your nose tackle there. Here we got Byron Murphy over as the 3-tech here, outside shoulder. One of these rare kind of alignments. Pushes him in the backfield, takes down the ball carrier. I mean, it's almost easy for him when he gets the single blocks. You're not seeing him struggle. You're not seeing that there's a lot of back and forth between the block and him. He just is pushing this guy into the backfield instantaneously. Almost one arm, almost just a long arm, effortless, just as he's moving lateral, pushing him into the backfield and going and making the tackle. Here against Buffalo, another somewhat of a 3-4 look almost, just about. They just have the guy putting his hand in the dirt. He's still in a wide 9, your 2 edges. But you do here have Byron now lined out, 3-4 defensive end, outside shoulder of the guard. Going to defeat this run play again. Has him the whole way here, right? See him peekabooing right here? He's peekabooing out. I got to know right where that running back's going. Reads it. You cut it back inside. I got you. Come back out. So he goes inside to take that inside read that Cook gives him there. But then Cook wants to bounce it back outside, and he's right there to make the play. Showed you a couple of plays there with Murphy and the Jets out of the nose tackle role making the play. Here's one with him a little bit more in that 3-techish role. It's actually kind of more 2-tech. He's not outside the shoulder of the guard. He's heads up over the guard. It's kind of more of a 2-tech kind of alignment. It's a little bit of a double team. Makes the play. Again, the run instincts moving in the right direction. The fact that he comes out like hell on wheels post-snap to the spot helps make sure he gets to the spot by the time the ball carrier is getting past the line of scrimmage. Fends off a bit of a double team here. But we've shown he can do that a little bit. Don't want him living that life, but he can operate in that way. He's got it in his bag to do that. Showed that one there. And we showed that one too. Let's see if I got any more here. I think that was pretty much all the ones we had on here to show. Did want to put one more up here for you guys on this to kind of put a button on this one. And a lot of people were hoping last year we'd get a little bit of fullback Byron Murphy, as he did do some of that in college. And I was able to find one happy rep here for you guys with him kind of more of as a tight end, I guess, than a fullback on this play. But takes on Andrew Van Ginkel and flattens him. What's weird about this play is that you look here with Charbonnet. So Murphy's on that outside shoulder, and Murphy's got the block laid. Lakin's got everything sealed to the inside. Like, if you're Charbonnet here, why don't you just cut this thing inside? He kind of runs this right into Ginkel. See how he kind of runs that outside into Ginkel's shoulder? Or the hole, just cut that up inside there. Cut that right up in that hole right there, and you're good to go with a touchdown. So Murphy lays this block. It's not really his fault. Charbonnet just kind of runs into him. Like, I don't know what Charbonnet's thinking. Like, you have the defender with the outside leverage here. Look at the defensive back behind Murphy there. He's got outside leverage. Just cut this inside, and it's a touchdown, buddy. But Murphy gets himself a little bit of a pancake. That's got to be a good grade from PFF on the play. I mean, come on, that's not his fault the running back chose the wrong hole. But maybe we'll get a little bit of Byron Murphy out here when it's all said and done. Maybe a little bit of him out here as a fullback tight end type here mixed in. I'd love to see it. And we do know Clint Kubiak loves himself some fullback looks. So certainly something that you could possibly see. So hopefully we got across a couple of things here today. Number one, the grades, this would be specifically one place that I would point to you and say that you look at just the PFF grade on this for Byron Murphy and you take that away, and that's not going to tell the whole story of him. And that when it comes to nose tackles, and I would say this is even beyond Byron Murphy, that there are positions that you can look more statistically based and take your measurement of that player and what he did that year and walk away with a pretty good idea of that player being good or bad or how productive he was. I think when it comes to the nose tackle position and what they're asked to do in this defense, using statistical markers as your way for whether or not they were successful or not is not the best of ways to do that. I think there's a lot of great nose tackles that have played this sport where you look at the end of their seasons and you go, well, there's not a lot there statistically, but their coaches would tell you this guy had a measurable impact to this team. This guy was able to let the other guys go and run free and do what they do and do what they do best. And watching some of these one tech snaps with Byron Murphy this year, to that point, one of the issues I have with him, running out there at one tech so often, is that, as Bill Belichick once said, he really wants these big, wide-bodied guys at the one tech position. I've talked about 330, 340 pounds, but what a guy like Belichick also won, a guy that ran 3-4 defenses through almost all of his career. He's done some hybridized stuff, but he's a 3-4 guy in his bones. And what he wants is a big, fat, wide-bodied guy. Because not only then do you have the guy that's got enough, poundage to basically hunker down and root in there and not be moved very much, but then you also have got a guy that's just naturally big, so that when you saw a lot of those blocks, which you'll do with the double teams a lot of the times in the modern era, is you're looking at a combo block, a duo block. So you're looking initially post-snap, get two sets of hands on the one tech, bam, you hit him, right? And you're hoping you get a little bit of movement, and then one of the guys slides off to gets down to the linebacker or safety or slot corner, right? But he's going to slide off. He's not going to stay on that block throughout the whole course of the play. And so when you have a big-bodied guy, a wide guy, a guy with a big old butt, it's hard to get around. What happens with that is that then that guy trying to scrape down to that linebacker can't get around that big-ass dude. It's just he's too wide to get off of, and it's sometimes on these plays, it's a matter of a foot, a yard from him getting to that linebacker or not getting that linebacker. And if he can't scrape down and get to that linebacker, then the linebacker has that much better of a chance and usually will then go make the play, especially in the run game. But if you have a little bit of a guy like Murphy that's not necessarily as big and as purified wide as you'd get with a guy that's, let's say, 6'4", 6'3", 330, 340, is now that guy that's scraping can get around that guy a little bit easier to get down to the second level. Tyree Snight and Ernest Jones, I think at times were able to get around this on some of the tape snaps that I saw because they're just so good at disengaging off second level blocks and being slippery in that way. But it's another place as to why I would say when it comes to Murphy, they're at that nose tackle position, that it's just not a well-suited spot for him to do what he can do best. And it's a bit of a thing that's been a frustration for me with this team and looking at them, even going back into the Carroll years of things. There always seems to be a couple pet projects where you're moving a player out of a position where they would be naturally at their best to reduce them down. And that's just, to me, not the best of ways to build up your best team. You want to put the players into the best positions for them to succeed, not be filling in holes on your roster because you didn't do a good enough job of addressing what are real vital elements to not just this team, but this defense. And that's what is really driving this as much as anything else with Byron Murphy. And hopefully the team has got a little bit of an adjustment that they can make now to make this to where he doesn't have to live this way. What stands out to me and what is really a possibility here is I keep coming back to the thought that Jarran Reed will eventually go back in and be a nose tackle and that you'll just have him do that 24/7. Jarran Reed came out of Alabama as a nose tackle. That's the way they utilized him, full stop. He came to Seattle. Seattle realized that he could do some 3-tech stuff. And there was this slow transition where he went from nose tackle to 3-tech. And at that time, what you were seeing was then Jarran Reed, while his pass rush numbers were really going up, his run defense scores were going down at that point. Like he was really concentrating on really at most was just kind of rushing the passer. But he does have an ability with that background and with his size to go back and fall into being that 1-tech. And Seahawks gave him a pretty nice contract this year in this offseason, a 3-year deal, well earned on his part. It's not break the bank money. But I do wonder if maybe some of this might be that they've gone to Jarran and they said, okay, we're going to reward you for last year's performance as mainly a 3-tech. We're going to give you this money, but we're giving you this money and letting you know that the plan this year is going to be now moving you to the nose tackle role and now taking your 3-tech snaps and giving them to Byron Murphy. Are you okay with that? We're going to pay you a lot of money to be that hard hat guy, to be the dirty work guy then in this defense as we go forward. But you've got to also accept that role. Are you willing to do that? I don't know if this is what's happened. This is just a little bit of a guess because otherwise it doesn't always make a lot of sense as to what you're doing here because by how you're setting this up, if you're going to maintain to what you did last year, you're going to have Leonard Williams as your starting 3-tech. You'd then have Jarran Reed as your backup 3-tech, and then you'd have Byron Murphy as sort of your de facto nose tackle starter or the guy that comes out and backs up Hankins as your nose tackle then on the other side of it. So I think this is what the team might be looking to do, and Jarran has that background. I think he has that ability. I think if you tell him in an offseason, look, you're going to gain another 5-10 pounds. We want you with a little added beef this year. You're going to be lined in that nose tackle role. We want you living there. I think he can fit to doing it and doing it well enough. Certainly give you at least the productivity that you were getting from Byron Murphy at the nose tackle role, whereas I think Byron Murphy can give you even a lot more impact from the 3-tech role than what you got from Jarran Reed, who still had a good year last year. It's not to undersell the fact that he still had a good year. So definitely feel like they're going to try to find this way to happen. I did mention too, another way to make this go would be maybe moving Leonard Williams to the outside edge and having him operate a little bit more out there. Then you can put him into the 3-tech, being Murphy next to him, because there are some really good snaps last year from Leonard Williams as an edge as well. But team's got a lot of different possibilities that they can bring into effect here. We'll see if we'll see what they do on this one. I just hope they don't have him living a whole nother year out there at the nose tackle position because he can be so much better in other places. Outdoor for Life, thank you for the $2 donation. I appreciate you for that. Outdoors for Life. Sorry, a little late to acknowledging. Just got to get through this spiel here at the top. Says, thoughts on Emawari's contract? What's the holdup? The holdup tends to come down to guaranteed money on any of these rookie deals. The amount that they're going to be paid is slotted, and that you're up at this position, and last year this guy made this amount of money. This year you'll make a couple percentage points more, and that's all set and good. Where it'll come down to is going to be the guarantees, and that when you have a guy that I'm sure is second, third round picks, say nothing of even first round picks. We saw this with Devin Witherspoon, Outdoors for Life. That what you have as far as from an agent's perspective is, how do I get more clients that I want who will be first round picks, second round picks, third round picks when it is slotted? When I come to you as a guy out of college and I say to you that you should let me represent you, and then the player comes back to you and he says, well, why? I mean, wherever I'm going to be picked is basically slotted, right? I mean, I'm going to make the money I'm going to make wherever I'm selected. So shouldn't I take kind of a low end agent and just save a little bit of money then at that point? And that guy goes, no. Because in taking me, what you'll get from me is a guy that'll get you more guarantees. So that's the way that they're going to try to, the agents separate themselves from one to the other. And then it becomes a pain in the ass for the teams because they're like, look, you're a second round pick. We're not giving you a fully guaranteed contract. And the agent's like, no, I want to get this contract so that I can get more players. And so this has happened. It happened with the Witherspoon situation a couple of years ago. There's been more of a transition with these rookies to get them the more of the guaranteed money on this and kind of vested in there with a second round pick. I'm sure you don't really want to do that as much, even if you're a little hesitant outdoor for life to do that with a guy that's a first round pick, then you would be mighty hesitant to do that with a second round pick as well. But the deal will get done when it's all said and done. I'm sure it's just that's the main thing holding it up. Agents got to do what they got to do, I guess, when you're working with a cap. Y2K, thank you for the $5 donation, Y2K. I do appreciate you for that, brother. Good to see you in the house, as well as thanks for being a member of the channel. He says, trade Big Cat, eat the dead cap, and you should be able to get a future first fairly easily, I feel. Then you let Byron Murphy cook. You're going to probably have a hard time getting a first-round pick back from him at this point, Y2K, I would say. And as much just, teams are going to be aware of the one-tech usage, but I don't know if his value is at its highest right now, and it would have to be at its highest to go get a first-round pick back. Or wait, you're saying for Big Cat, get a first-round pick. Yeah, you're not going to get a first-round pick back for Murphy. You're going to get less than the second-round pick that you gave up for him a couple of years ago. Maybe there's a way you could get more because of the fact that you're eating the dead money and now Murphy's going to be relatively cheap for whatever team trades for him. Maybe there's a little bit of that there with it. But the thing with Murphy is that he's in his 30s. You're not going to have a guy that's a defensive tackle in his 30s getting anything close to a first round pick return. I don't even think you'd probably get the second round pick back for him, or it would be a late second round pick if that's what you're going to get back from Murphy for Leonard Williams at this point, if you make that move. So the returns, unfortunately, just won't be altogether, great there. I will say, too, that I think that you can have a world that exists where Big Cat and Byron Murphy are both on this roster and both bringing the most of impact that they can bring. And that you don't want any guys running 70, 80% of the snaps anyway when it comes to, any one position. You'd like to stay, I think, ideally kind of in about the 35 snap range for a guy, especially in a guy like Leonard Williams, who is now getting into his early 30s. Is this a guy you want playing 60, 65% of the snaps? Or you look at a defense, and a defense over the course of the game is going to play probably 60 snaps, let's say, over the course of a game. And so you have Leonard Williams, let's say, rocking 35 of those snaps. And then, or 30 of the snaps, just split it up half and half, or, whatever. Then Murphy 25. And then you have some of Leonard Williams kicked out to the edge and operating out to there. Maybe some of Murphy operating off of the edge, and intermingle those reps through to where at the end of the day, all the reps kind of even out. The guys have sort of starter snap reps when it's all said and done. And that's kind of the modern NFL. And that it is about the rotation. And did this not what we saw from the Eagles, where they will rotate their guys on through all across the board on that defensive line and that edge group and keep those guys fresh and keep those guys good. It's kind of the new norm here with the NFL going to the 17-game schedule and the 2 Thursday night games, that you've got to have a roster more built with that depth and to be able to sustain. And so I think you can get around this Y2K with a creative way of doing this without having to make the trade of a Leonard Williams. But somebody's going to have to be the good soldier and take up those snaps at the nose tackle position to make it happen. And that's where I start to look at Mr. Jaron Reed and go, you're the man. Come on, Jaron. Go back home. Go back home. Joseph says, I got high hopes from Murphy. I think he's going to have a great year, an even better year in 2026. I agree, Joseph. I think he's going to be more improved this year. They're going to have more of him having a chance to get out there and go hunt and get things done. And that'll be an even more improved version of him this year, as far as at least statistically, productively speaking. But the future's bright for Murphy. Future's absolutely bright. The talent in this kid is true. Seattle did not miss on this pick. This is not a bust. Seth says, doesn't Big Cat have 2 or 3 seasons left on his contract? He's already paid. He's our best lineman. Yeah. You're not looking to move him. He's got a couple years left. So, yeah. That is true. Iced out Kirk. If we move on, Hendrickson, who gets moved? Mafe. Kind of hard to say iced out Kirk. I think that what makes that difficult as far as a question to answer is that Boye Mafe's been the better player between him and Derek Hall. Mafe's not been perfect. And Mafe certainly has had a little bit of stilting as far as him taking that step forward that you'd like to see him take to become just a little bit more. Give me just a little bit more now. Give me a little more consistency there. But with Hall, you just don't have anything as far as a run defender goes. And that he's really kind of a negative there on that side of it. And so the other part that then is tough with this is that you have 2 years left on Hall and you only have this last year remaining on Mafe. And so do you want to give Hall the extra year that you get the 2 years to kind of figure out if he is going to improve and is going to be better versus maybe you think Mafe's a little bit more finished product and you're not planning on signing him to a contract extension? And so I think I would answer the question like this. If the intention is that you're not going to sign Mafe to an extension, then I would certainly expect you to try to move probably him if you were to go get Hendrickson. But if you're going to sign him to an extension, then it's Hall that's going to go at that point because you just feel better about Mafe as a player. But it's a complicated one to answer there, Iced Out Kirk. And part of this is that you very well could end up seeing it be that you include one of your edges if you're going to go get Hendrickson. Like rather than us saying, Bengals, you're going to get this pick back, the Bengals want to go compete this year. The Bengals want to go contend this year. They don't want to trade Hendrickson for a future pick that they're not going to benefit from that player's play on the performance of the field this year. So then you go, okay, give us a player this year that's going to give us maybe not Hendrickson level of impact, but give us a pick and give us a guy that's going to be very solid then as a fill in there for him. And maybe you can give that in a Mafe or a Hall at that point. And we don't know who the Bengals might prefer more of one to the other on that, if that does go that direction of it. So there's not a straightforward one there, Kirk, as an answer as to this guy or that guy. They've both got kind of different things with them that are both pluses and minuses that could have you keep one to move the other. Addicted Brandon, your topic on today is 100% on point. I've been roasted for suggesting trading K9 straight up for a quality nose tackle. Big Cat, quality nose tackle, Murphy would be legendary. Love this topic. Well, thank you, man. I was definitely one that we had to talk about this offseason for sure, because there's been a lot of discussion around Murphy as this last season, and it's a very important one to kind of keep in mind, because it is a guy that is a really good player, could be just pure dynamite for you as a defensive tackle, but he is kind of being put in nose tackle hell. And when you're in that hell, it's a tough lot in life. You know, you're going through 50 car crashes a game, and you've got two guys that both have two cars hitting your one car at once. It ain't a lot of fun. Maybe there's that trade that's available out there to be made. I don't know if there is that one. It is hard with nose tackle position because there's not a ton of these guys throughout the sport. But maybe there's some kind of trade John can make here to kind of reinforce the ranks there. You certainly don't love that you just got Hankins and Murphy and not a whole hell of a lot else right now. Again, unless Jaron's going to make that transition. Yeah, I don't know who, Nick, the quality nose tackle would be that you'd be able to grab. You know, that's the question, man, is I'm not sure. I'm not sure who they'll be. But there's some potential guys. You never know what the way it is in the lay of the land, and teams out there looking to move a guy they're not planning on signing, or, you know, they just doesn't fit the defense. New defenses come in, you know, hard to say. Y2K, thank you for 23 months, almost 2 years as a Hawks Nest member. I really appreciate you for doing that. Can the 3 techs we drafted play 5 tech? Yes, Riley Mills. Riley Mills is a defensive end background, Y2K. So he started at Notre Dame as a 275-pound defensive end who became a 300-pound 3 tech. But he absolutely can play the power edge role in this defense. He's got that background in doing it. He'd be a bigger edge. He can set the hard edges. He's a big bully out there, burly in that way. So yeah, he can absolutely play some of that. Riley Mills could. Did we draft anybody else that could do that? No. We didn't really bring in anybody else that can really do it outside of that. You got a couple of big edges. You got undrafted rookie free agents too, but I don't know if those guys are really going to set Y2K. But yeah, Riley can do it. It was on his tape. Seth K. Aloha. Thank you for the $10 donation, Seth. Really appreciate you for that, man. Why don't we play Reed at nose tackle since he's done it in the past? Not saying he'd do great, but at least he'd be functional with Hankins, and I feel like we get more upside from Murphy at 3 tech than Reed. Well, we are at 100% in alignment of this, Seth. Because I go, look, Reed's a very more than functional three tech who has solid year for you as a three tech. Got his share of sacks, got his share of pressures, played the run pretty well, earned that contract extension he got. But as you said with this, you come down to it and you go, okay, it's a bit of a math problem, right? It's just a little bit of a math problem. So if I take Byron Murphy and I look at, run defense grades for him last year and what he was doing with that, and I go, okay, well, your run defense grade was pretty poor according to PFF. I think Jaron Reed can give me at least that, if not even better play than that as a run defender. And then I think that Byron Murphy is going to give me more as a pass rusher from the three tech than Reed would give me as a three tech. Now, the coaches obviously didn't quite feel the same way. And that, though some of this I wonder too is how much Reed was maybe hesitant a little bit last year to go into that nose tackle role, especially because Jaron would be going into a contract year last year. So he gets his stats depressed in the very season that he's going to be a free agent after the season. Maybe some of that was some pushback from Reed on that, saying, look, I don't want to play that 24/7 like that. But this is the fix to me. This is the fix where you don't have to go and make a trade then at that point. You're looking for a guy that can be functional and take up two blockers. He doesn't have to be dominant there, who can, be basically your starter nose tackle there at that point. And he's got the background in doing it. This is what he was at Alabama. You changed him into a three tech. He kind of morphed into a three tech, but he really is a nose tackle at the end of the day. I think you just got to get him committed to it. Like I said, maybe have him add on the extra 10 pounds, 15 pounds he might have lost to get a little bit quicker as a three tech, and then let him get in there and root and be an ass kicker again like he was at Alabama. I'd love to see them try to do this with it because it's there. You're not giving up any assets to have to do it. Then you're just rolling with what you got. But it will be interesting to see if the team doesn't do that this year on that side of it, Seth, to your point with that. Because, hard to say on that one. But I agree with you. I see it the very same way, where, Murphy Reed as a nose tackle and being run defender and what they do there, kind of, okay, it's kind of even. But then I look Murphy up here over Reed as what he brings as a three tech. And when you put the formula like that, to me, it would be pretty easy to just go, okay, you roll with Murphy. But again, the coaches saw the same thing last year and they went the other way with it, which was kind of odd, Seth, to me. But I see it the same way, 100% see it the same way. Nagasa, how many snaps did he have at nose tackle? The PFF rank thing doesn't show you pure nose tackle stuff, because when they show you the AGP, which is the 66 snaps I'm showing you right here, Nagasa, that's over the top of the center as a nose tackle. That's zero tech. That's zero tech roll. So he played predominantly last year out of the three tech or out of the one tech. He was aligned, and this is where you really got to Nagasa on this. Go, as I've done with this, prepping for the show, you go back and just watch his snaps and where he's aligned snap after snap after snap. Take my word for it. He was aligned predominantly and at a very, very high rate as either in that zero tech or one tech role. I would estimate that he was probably there 80% of the time to 85% of the time last season between one of those two positions, which either of those two positions is essentially at that point going to be double teamed. You're going to be much more in alignment to be double teamed. Wonder where the black kitty is. She's out there rolling around. Pumpkin's taking back over her roost here today. Pumpkin's taking back on the roost here. I can see Horton moving ahead of MVS, Emberside. Guy's got a lot of talent. I don't know what the Purple Crowns are. I don't know what those are. All right. Well, we will wrap this one on up here today. If you could for me, please do hit that like button, as I really do always appreciate it. And it does help the channel grow. We're going to be coming back tomorrow with a little bit of a look at A.J. Barner and his rookie year. Kind of quietly had one of the better rookie years for a Seahawks tight end in our history, especially when you really bring into account what he did as a blocker and then what he did as a pass catcher in both. And that when you are a tight end, especially an inline tight end, you got to take both into account. We get caught up a little bit too often, I think, at times with the tight end position about just simply purely what they do as pass catchers, run after the catch, how many tight ends do they get, how many touchdowns are they receiving, first understanding there's a whole other half part of their game that kind of matters in what they bring to the table and is very impactful on making your offense go, especially the offense that we're taking on here in Kubiak's right now, which is very tight end dependent. So Barner, we're going to look at tomorrow a lot of what he brings to the table as far as a blocker goes and the variety of ways he brings to that. Some of what he brings as a pass catcher, some of how he is going to free up Arroyo to be able to be moved all over the place because Arroyo won't have to be your inline guy. So I'm very excited to talk a little bit tomorrow about AJ Barner and get into the depths with that one on that. I want to do a big shout out here to Mark Sanchez, one of our big contributors here on the channel, one of our big time guys. I didn't know if anybody noticed or not, but he actually got me a signed DK Metcalf jersey here that I got all framed up and over here on my left side, just above Pumpkin's head. So we've got a nice balance between Largent and Metcalf now on either side of things. And I really appreciate you, Mark, for sending that on. You guys are very kind and sending me some cool things in the mail from time to time. And I love having that jersey back there. So the background gets a little bit fuller. Just a little bit fuller. I also got myself a little Seahawks replica helmet. We're going to get that on the background as well. So it's kind of all coming into play back there. It really is. We got a donation here. Y2K, thank you for another $2 donation. It says, do teams never use two techs? Why not? Oh no, you've got two techs. I was able to show a couple of snaps here with Murphy as a two tech here. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. Let me get it here. 1 second. So this would be technically two tech right here. So you're lined up over right in front of the guard. Your head's up over the guard, essentially. Whereas one tech is going to be shaded a little bit more between. You're going to be splitting the difference between the guard and the center. But then you can see Leonard Williams here. See how you're seeing the outside shoulder of Williams? Because he's a little bit more lined up as a three tech. First, you don't see the shoulder of Murphy here because he's lined up as a two tech. So there are teams that do utilize it. I think that where you would be seeing it most... Y2K would be in 3-4 defenses, in traditional 3-4 defenses. So you would have those guys. Sometimes you'd have them as rather than a two tech, you'd have like 3-eye. That's the next one, which is 3 inside. There's a variety of different little spots though that this bears out to. So 3-4 defenses, I think typically would add more of the two techs, especially if you're running what was called a bear front. Bear front would often be where, to show you maybe what I got here. So bear front, you'd be maybe doing like you go the zero tech with your nose tackle, be right over the center, and then you'd have your two other defensive tackles. Then would be two techs. So you'd have right heads up over right guard, right heads up over the left guard. Then you'd have your zero tech heads up over the center. Kind of an old school way of doing it. This is also a Buddy Ryan style defense. So what makes that interesting about that old school bear 3-4 look is that's this is where our defense comes from. It's been evolved, it's been developed, but if you take it back to the early periods, they ran a lot of that 2-2 techs, 1-0 tech, and then you'd have your wide 9 stand up outside linebackers. So the old school 3-4 look, of course, would have 5 guys on the line of scrimmage rather than the 4-3 defenses, which have just the 4 down linemen. Riverside says, sweet Metcalf jersey. Thank you, Riverside. Very kind of Mark to send that on in. Very, very kind of him. W for Mark for sure, man. And he's been a huge contributor to this channel in addition to that. Steph says, I'm surprised McDonald wouldn't put Byron in a better spot to succeed. Yeah, I'm a little surprised by it. That's where I come into thinking maybe, Steph, some of this is Jaron Reed's influence on this, saying, I don't want to play nose tackle. I want to be a 3 tech. And then maybe now that they've given him a multi-year contract and he's got a little bit of, some security now, he can feel like, okay, I'll be willing to go more back to that. Some of it, too, has to do with just the necessity of it, Steph, that you just didn't have any really good nose tackles on the roster. Cameron Young, who you took in the 4th round a couple of years ago, couldn't stay healthy. And Hankins, who's 33 years old last year, is just too old. Just isn't able to really hold up for a whole year. And you just didn't have any other bodies to really go to at that point. Especially if Jaron wasn't willing to do it as much. HHGB, is Ramsey a good fit for Mike, or is he a roam freelance? No, I think that Ramsey would be a great fit for Mike Macdonald's defense because Ramsey's got a lot of flexibility to do a variety of different things. So I think he'd be a fantastic fit. And there is the question with Ramsey a bit about hunger. How much does he still love the game? You know, he's kind of got everything done. Got the NFL champion. He's been there. So does he still want to get after it the same kind of way? Maybe not. It does feel like right now the Rams are being kind of having the wheels greased to just be kind of giving him for almost nothing at this point is how this is seemingly kind of set up at this point, which I don't like. But I would definitely be kicking those tires if I'm John. You got the cap space to do it. He's not going to cost a lot in draft capital to go get him. I think there's a lot that makes a lot of sense to looking at that, especially considering how thin the cornerback room is, especially considering the fact that Woolen's going into the final year of his deal. And you go and get a guy like Ramsey, now you've got not only a fix here for the cornerback position on one of your starters for 1 year, but at least 2 years. Trevor said, I hope Bobo has a great year this year. Yeah, I do too. He's got to bounce back off of what was a little bit of a sophomore slump, and that receiving room has been stocked up much more than it's been in prior years as far as the depth goes. He's going to have an uphill battle, I think, getting there. But if he can find a little bit more tapping back into that spirit of his rookie season, then he's got an opportunity. Seth says, Mabane's going to have to come out of retirement. Well, maybe that's the answer, man. Come on, Brandon. You give us a couple of snaps a game, right? You give us 10 good nose tackle snaps a game. You still got some of that first step quickness. Come on, Brody. Come on, Brody. Femi says, I keep dropping, man. Sorry, Femi. Good to see you in the house, brother. Well, he takes the lead. All right, well, we will wrap up on that note, folks. I thank you guys today for watching. Again, if you can, hit that like button. I do appreciate you guys doing that. We're going to be looking at A.J. Barner tomorrow, our Seahawks tight end who had a really good rookie year. We're going to be looking at the 3 safety look on Monday. I've been going through some of the tape, and Mike Macdonald used a lot of 3 safety looks last year. I feel like that's going to come more into play, especially with one Nick Emawari now on the roster, replacing the Rashawn Jenkins role. So get ready for maybe the 3 safety look becoming maybe some of the new hotness here in the NFL. The next new adjustment for Mike Macdonald to add onto this defense, just that extra layer, because he's always adding more layers. He's always refining. He's always modifying. It's never to stay in just the same place. That's part of how he's taken this defense so far from the origins of Buddy Ryan in so many ways, and that it doesn't look anything in a lot of ways like Buddy Ryan's defense because some of those adjustments he's brought into bear of it and how he's brought that ball forward in that way. So really looking forward to the next couple of shows, breaking that down with you guys. I thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for rolling with me on the new format through this off season. We're going to keep this thing going on into June, and we got a lot of shows lined up. So keep on watching here. I appreciate all of the donations and all of the support to the channel. Thank you to all the members as well. Just a couple of quick other fast notes. We've got Sunday, we're going to be doing a call-in show for members and patrons of the channel. Be on the lookout for me to put that into the deal there. So we'll be having a little bit of interactions on that. And then as well, just the event announcement that I've been mentioning here throughout the week. And we're trying to get enough signups. We've got a good amount of action already initially. We're going to be doing a member meetup with the NFC West Roundtable here in early October. So look in the description section below. After this video, I have to put it in here because I keep forgetting, but please do look in the description below as I've got a link to that. It's $300 for tickets to the game, and we're going to do a pre-night bar meetup there. We're going to be doing tailgating before the game, so it's going to be a fun little kind of a couple-day event down there. Right there, it's a Thursday night game, so you don't have to miss a Seahawks game to come check it out. I'm expecting we're going to get a lot of Niner and Ram fans because it's a Niner Ram game, but it's an NFC West Roundtable meetup. If you want to join that, do look at the description section below. $300 includes everything, including your ticket. We're all going to be sitting together in the stadium. I'm really looking forward to being able to do this. So if you get a chance, please do come down and check that out. We'll be back in less than 24 hours looking at A.J. Barner and his very fine, solid rookie year as a 4th-round pick for your Seattle Seahawks. But until that time, I hope you don't forget. I hope you don't let it leave your mind. Yeah, I know the Mariners are doing great, but don't forget about our Hawks. Don't you dare. Don't you ever forget. Go Hawks.